Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the bridge. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Washington, and we appreciate that. We are on season 4, and this is episode 12. Our guest today is Daly Poort, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself in a few minutes. And Sandy, do you have a quote for us today?
I do, and I found just the perfect one for a sunny summer morning. Can we call it summer? It may not be there quite yet. I've been working in my
It's
yard,
June.
getting my I'm getting my flowers planted and trying to bring some life to the yard. And I came across this quote that I think works really good for this time of year. A man asked his gardener why his plants grew so beautifully. The gardener said, "I don't force them to grow. I remove what stops them." Growth isn't about force, it's about removing obstacles. This is Strati Geropoulos who wrote that note.
That's a good one. For a good
So
one to always remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
working
get the
toward our
obstacles out of
goals.
the way.
Yeah. Well, Bailey Port is with us today. Bailey is a good friend of our families, especially of my grandson Max. And Bailey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to and what you want to be up to?
Yeah. well, I'm Bailey, and I just finished my second year at the College of Charleston in South Carolina. I'm a communications major, and during my summers, I'm a general manager of the Laurelhurst Beach Club in Seattle. It's pretty exciting. Yeah, I think that's. I guess
Okay.
I want to go to kind
So
of.
give us a little more detail what that means. What your title or your job description. Give us a little more about what that looks like.
So I've worked at the Laurelhurst Beach Club for it's my fifth summer now, and I started as a lifeguard, and then our past general manager he just left. He just had a baby, so he has a lot on his plate, and so they asked me and my best friend Britta, who we've done like everything together since sixth grade. We were co-presidents of our middle school and on student council in high school, so we've kind of done everything together, and now we are the new general managers, which is really, really exciting and a little crazy. Um,
Yeah.
I've it's really fun. I've really enjoyed it, and it's definitely it's going to teach me a lot. I know over the next summer of and even the past few months of kind of stepping into this role. So yeah.
Yeah.
What a great
Well,
opportunity.
tell me a little bit about what drew you to become a communications major.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
guess kind of how I jumped into that major is probably it's a little weird, but like just because of my parents, both my parents are communication majors, and they both have such different careers that I kind of wanted to. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to go to into after college, so I think just knowing that there's so many different opportunities. My mom's a school teacher, and my dad is he's like the VP of marketing for a company. So I feel like those are very different careers, and I just felt like it had a lot of possibilities, and I probably want to go into like the business field after I graduate. And so I think I also I like communicating with people. I think it's fun. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous. We just talked to a gal last week who is in marketing, and she's marketing for gosh, I don't remember if it's Danish or Norwegian, but some company, and she's marketing early childhood education. And
Yeah.
she was a theater arts major as well as a journalism major, and she goes, "Look where I ended up." Well, communications covers just about everything. I don't
Right.
know. There might be people in the back room that play with numbers all day that don't have to communicate, but it's
Yeah.
very broad, and so you actually are in the perfect field, and you probably, if statistics are correct, nobody starts a career these days and stays in it for 30 years. Those are the olden days. Those are in the olden days for me, and I'm old. So you have lots and lots of possibilities, and you
Yeah.
are practicing leadership. So you were saying you and your friend, what's her name?
Her
What's
name's
your friend's
Britta.
name? Britta.
Britta.
You and Britta,
Yeah.
Britta have been leading things when you were in probably junior high, it sounds, and through
Yeah.
high school. And so, were you drawn to leadership or you lap because you were a leader? Tell me how some of those early days begin.
For sure. I say probably also goes back to my family. I feel like leadership is just a huge thing in our family. I mean, I started doing Girl Scouts when I was in kindergarten, and I did Girl Scouts all the way through senior year, and it had a lot of like we did a lot of camps and we would run different things. And I always really liked that feeling of, being a leader to younger girls or just being in that leadership role. I really, really enjoyed it since a really young age. And then when I went to middle school, my mom actually became the leadership teacher at our middle school. And I was in the class, and we ended up becoming the co-presidents of our middle school. And I loved it. It was so fun, and we got to do so many cool things. There was my eighth grade year. There was a kid in my class who had Down syndrome, and he really, really wanted to be the mascot of our school. And all 3 years he had been asking, and our eighth grade year, I like got to pick out a mascot costume, and we still have it at the middle school. And it was really cool. Como 4 News came and did like a whole um, like segment on him, and it was just like such a special moment. And like that was kind of the feeling that I had always loved, and I loved getting to like give back to people and like give people these opportunities. And I felt like leadership always brought me to those moments. And so I it was just such a special moment. And then I guess I just wanted to continue that throughout high school, being on my class councils. I got to help, run different special events like graduation and prom
Yeah.
for my senior class, and also Veterans Day, and all of those different things that I just think are so important and so special. And so I think that's kind of always like drawn me to being part of leadership. And even in college, I was on
Sure.
leadership for my sorority. So it keeps building every single year, and it makes me really happy. And even at work, I've gone from like a basic
Yeah.
lifeguard at this 16, and now I'm the general manager of the whole facility. So it's just like, I don't know. I just think it's like something that I've kind of found that it's something I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah.
Well, I think Bailey, that
Sure.
what
And
you
what
said is that you've been practicing all along, all your life, to be where you are right now. And I think that's awesome. And one of the things about the kiddo that wanted to be the mascot, part of the part of the realm of being a leader is noticing, and Sue and I've talked about that many times on the podcast, is that things can be right in front of you and you don't see it, but you see it, and and that helps give you direction as to how you want to lead, and what the purpose is for leading for
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
makes me
and yeah, and the noticing is important because when you notice something in one of the people that you're either working with or that you're leading, and you call it forth in them, that is very affirming to them. It helps them to become self-confident and, oh, she sees that in me. Well, yeah, and it's kind of like opening doors.
Right.
And that I love that because it's the opposite. Sometimes people think of leadership and they think of self-promotion.
Yeah.
People are narcissists and they're just promoting themselves. And this is just the opposite. It's really, I think somebody called it servant leadership. But it sounds like it comes to you, I'm going to say naturally, and then your parents really fostered it and, gave you opportunities, and your school did, and you're looking for them. And you know what? I'm thinking there's a little bit of courage wrapped in there because you have to go for it. You have to have an idea and then act on it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your courage or your idea and then acting.
Oh, that's a little. I don't know how to go into that, but I guess courage. I guess kind of why I always end up doing is it's more of like even if it's scary, even if I'm like nervous to go for it or I feel like I mean, I would say probably for this job, this was something I wanted like not just being the general manager, but being like a head guard. That was something I wanted for years and I was always every year I wanted to like I was trying to get there and I wanted to be promoted and all those things and I think the feeling of like afterwards of like that feeling of like fulfillment and like it is better than like any feeling I've ever had and that's what goes for everything I've ever done for leadership. You know, every project,
Yeah.
every assembly, every event, like anything I've ever done, the feeling afterwards or even the feeling during the event or whatever, it's so fulfilling and I think that kind of powers over any fears or doubts or
Mhm, mhm,
anything that I've ever felt when trying to go after something that I'm
mhm.
not
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Bailey, you saw a need.
Right.
One of the things that I have done throughout my life is I don't necessarily out as a leader to begin with, but I look to see, I'm imagine having this line of people, like getting ready to Red Rover, send Sandy on over, us all lining up and me looking both directions to see if anybody's going to come forward and they don't. And I think, okay, so I will. And, there has to be that,
Mhm.
a certain amount of filling a need calls
Mhm.
forth.
Yeah, initiative, sometimes it's called initiative.
Right,
And also, when somebody offers you something, you have to proactively say yes.
right,
We had a gal on, I think last year, Sandy, that said, my practice is to basically, unless I'm really not wanting to do it, I say yes,
right.
and that's possibilities and what can we do? And
yeah,
it opens up the field. And, when you're that way and you've been this way for pretty much your whole life, we could probably go back to kindergarten and find some things that you said yes to. But it isn't, it's not everybody's MO. There, not everybody has that willingness to say yes, or the look for the need and then step forward.
yeah.
And then it's really powerful, and it's very unique, and you wear it well. You wear it well.
Thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about how, because it sounds really like you do see qualities in other people
Yeah.
and then kind of mentor them, or talk to me about maybe it's the mascot guy or somebody else. How did you notice and how did you call it forth in these people?
Yeah, I mean, with the mascot, he honestly he brought it to us. Like we found out well, my mom didn't become the leadership teacher till our 8th grade year, and that was the year that like I was the president. We found out every year he had written a letter to leadership asking to bring on a mascot, and when we realized that it had never happened, we were like, well, why isn't this happening? Like this doesn't make any sense. And
Mhm.
um, it was that was just one of probably the most special moments of he's a good friend of mine, and it was just really fun. We got the Mariner Moose to come out and like kind of give him the outfit, and he got to like walk around at the
Yeah.
spirit assembly. And I guess like that one was like more on him, but I guess if you want me to explain, like when I see people maybe on staff, like
Right.
here we do promotions throughout the summer. I see people, and that's one of my favorite things is giving people promotions. I love to reward like people that I see like
Mhm.
stepping up and being a
Mhm.
leader. And we have like our core values, and it's our club is called like the LBC, and it's for the Lower Hearst Beach Club, but the L stands for leadership, and the B stands for betterment, and the C stands for community. And I just think those are like the values that I really see, and I love to see in other people. So I think kind of I see I always I feel like I'm a very emotional person, so I see emotions in other people, and I kind of like grab onto them, and I want to help them like kind of use those emotions too, and those um, just the different things that each person holds within themselves, and help them become a leader themselves. I think that's really fun. And some of these people that are in leadership, the first year they didn't speak once the entire time they were working, but I saw that they were really hard workers, and I was like, I want to put you on
Mhm.
leadership, and they are now such like confident, like I it's just so fun to work with them because they are such hard
Yeah.
workers. They're so confident now, and they just they go after it, and I love it. And I think that's also like a fun thing is obviously there's some people that maybe like
Mhm.
myself who just I've always kind of been a little bit out there and like kind of I don't know, big energy, and then there's some people who aren't. And honestly, I think those sometimes are like my favorite, to just see them kind of come out and like they have these capabilities of being a great leader, and they just don't know how to like harness it or show it yet. And so yeah, I
I
don't
would
know if
say
it's really
I would say
leadership.
it's like digging for treasure, Bailey. It's
Yeah,
like looking for gold in people. And man, there's enough negative in the world around us that if we can bring a positive light to things and look at from the point of what people have instead of what they don't have, that's
yeah,
part of emotional intelligence. And we've talked about that a lot. And I love that that has come forward because when I started my career, I don't think they talked much about it. But so much is based on your emotional intelligence
Mhm.
and being able to read people and be able to know how to support people and what does that look like.
yeah, definitely.
Mhm. Yeah. Two things that I want to comment on is number one, you already are acting as a leadership coach. You know what I mean? Teachers do it too, but leadership coaches, you do it very proactively.
Right.
And one of my definitions of coaching is eliciting best thinking in others. And so that's what you do when you comment to somebody what you see in them. It pulls them up forward, and then you kind of let them be themselves,
Yeah,
but you're the one that help elevating them.
Right.
And then the other thing is, all right, let's see. Oh, I love the fact that you say that you're emotional and you lead from I'm going to call it leading from your gut,
it's a
because especially those people that don't, and then you talk, and especially those people that don't talk, you're feeling and knowing what's up for them,
yeah,
and you call it forth, you kind of nurture it a little bit, and then it grows. Like Sandy said, the garden, you're removing those obstacles, like the quote said. And that is really good. I mean, I guess what I would encourage you to do is to keep doing that, because I know myself, now that I've been coaching the coaching field for over 20 years, I'm getting better at always going with my gut.
yeah,
And I probably did it when I was younger, but there were years where what's that person going to think if I say that? You know what I mean? I would doubt myself. And the worst thing that can happen is they can tell you no. No, you're not right, and then that helps push them to clarity. If you guess wrong, but most likely your gut is right, and you're helping them grow, not just intellectually. You're helping them grow uh, as people,
yeah,
becoming good agency people. The self-esteem type of thing. So that's just positive.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about you're being a leadership coach, and then also the gut, leading from your gut.
Yeah, I guess like how kind of I could see myself as a leadership coach is just I like to make sure I recognize people and like what they're doing. That's like I would say like maybe one of my favorite like just like a big thing that I like to do is I want to make sure like everyone, not just like people I'm close with, people I'm friends with, but or like people that most people see as leaders, but the people that you might not see as leaders, like I want them to be recognized, and like I want to give them the space as well to become a leader. I think that's like a huge part too. Give them the resources and the space, especially within like my job here. Like there's so much growth and space to become a great leader, and I think that's something I really try to do and trying to encourage within my staff. We have like weekly leadership meetings where we kind of talk about all these things too. And some people come onto leadership and they just feel like they're just like a hard worker. Maybe they don't feel like a leader. And I feel like within a few weeks, they really blossom. And I think that's a big part of it, is just, you know, giving them the space and the ability to become a leader, and giving them the opportunities as well. Like, you know, sometimes
Right.
I'll be like, hey, like, you want to do this? Like, I think you can do that. And, you know, I think giving them those like chances as well. Um, and then I guess
Right.
with my gut, I don't know. I've always been a very emotional person, and I've also been someone who, like, I show my emotions a lot. And that's like a big, like, I don't know, it's just like a big thing. People kind of know that about me, is like, really happy, I'm really sad. Like, I will like show it through my eyes.
Mhm.
And I think I also like feel for people. I'm kind of a big like empath, and if
Right.
someone's feeling sad, I feel sad for them. And if someone's feeling happy, I feel happy. Like, it just fills me with so much like joy. And so I think that's like, it really, how people feel around me, it really affects how I feel and how
Right.
I act. And I think that plays a huge role in how I want people to feel, like how I like interact with people around me and want them to feel. Because if they're feeling really good, then I'm going to feel really good. And
Sure.
vice versa. So yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, the big word that jumps out at me as you're talking about emotions, and like Sandy said, emotional intelligence, is empathy. You're highly empathetic, but the two huge leadership traits that those come from that is, number one, transparency.
Yeah.
You know, you're real. People know that you're real. You're not being phony. And that is huge. When you're a leader, people start to trust you if you can be transparent. And another one that is very connected to that is authentic. You know, they know that it's you. You're not trying to be someone else. And Sandy, talk a little bit about empathy and transparency and authenticity, because Sandy was the leader of a childcare uh, in the director in the tell her about what you did, Sandy, and sort of how those traits really helped you.
Well, I came on board working for a school district. I was the coordinator for early childhood education, and it was a Head Start, started with Head Start, and then we ended up adding on the state funded program called ECAP. So it was ranging from ages 3 to 5 years of age. I loved the program because I was in the private sector as a director of a child development center. And some of the things that I wanted to do, there wasn't the funding to do it.
Okay.
And when I moved on over to Head Start and ECAP, there was funding to be able to really connect with families and start work as a partnership. And um, one of the things that I really wanted, I wanted people to love coming to work, because if you feel like you have a safe place, you enjoy the people you're working with, you're going to be the best you can be in the given situation. And I gave freedom, as you were talking about earlier, freedom within there was Washington Administrative Code. There was things that Head Start and ECAP required, but within that, every classroom looked different because I allowed the teachers to make it their space. And within that organization, within the requirements of the program, and you could go into different classrooms and you could just feel the difference of how the creativity of each person and stuff. And it was just an amazing thing. But one of the things that Sue really helped us with was making it a place where, number one, triangulation is one of the worst things. That's when people are whispering behind people's backs instead of going to the person they need to go to. And so that helped to make it be a safe place for people to come, because they could go to who they needed to. If they needed support from me as their administrator, they knew I was there for them. But we wanted, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I know you've seen it, but at the very top, it's self-actualization, and that has to have steps of where to get to that. And if you've got the basics taken care of, then you can actually be the best that you can be with the families that you're working with, and with the children that you're working with. And One of the reasons I loved early childhood education is that the sooner that we can reach children at the younger ages that we can reach children, the more impact we can have in people's lives. And we loved helping parents help themselves and help their kids. We didn't do it for them, but we aligned ourselves, and we try to have that same spirit within our program. Is that we were there for each other, and how can we help you? It wasn't like, oh, that's my space, or it was one of those things where we made it so that community really was built, and it made it a lovely place to come to work.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I think.
I'm hunching. Yeah, I'm hunching that the people that you lead usually have fun. They fun together. I hear you have leadership meetings every week. That's very powerful. And the other thing is, when you said you give them space,
Mm-hmm.
you
Don't
know, I'm
micromanage.
gonna, when you say, yeah, it's huge because if you're telling me I'm doing so good and you don't give me any real work to do, meat and potato stuff, not just whipping cream, then I have no substance. You know what I mean? You give people substance when you give them real work to do. And then you tell them, oh, wow, look what you did. You reward them. So really powerful. I'm just really excited about the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
You've got such a great foundation. Now, this question is kind of related to what, and maybe you can do it emotionally. What do you have a favorite class or a favorite department within communications that's kind of talking to you?
Honestly, I was kind of surprised. This past semester, I did a an environmental communications um, class, and I wasn't like expecting it to be like um, something out of the ordinary. But I really, really liked it. It's probably one of my favorite classes I've taken in college so
Cool.
far. And maybe it was because a lot of it
Wow.
was talking about, like the West Coast and like Rainier and Yellowstone and all those places. But I don't know. It's not something that like I really see myself doing in the future, but I really enjoyed taking that class. I thought it was really interesting to kind of
Yeah.
like break down like different parts of like that that whole area. There's a lot I could go into about it, but it
Yeah.
it was a lot more. And not only that, but my teacher, like, she gave us space to kind of show off our communication skills by giving us 30-minute presentations, but like on our choice of topic, and just giving us all these different opportunities to present and to kind of work on our communication skills. So it wasn't just like what we were talking about in class, but also like how the class was built. I really enjoyed that class. Other than that, my other favorite classes were public speaking. I I do like public speaking, so I
That's
think
cool because a lot of people don't.
yeah, that is. I think I grew up kind of like performing, so I think like that part has like helped me a little bit. Obviously, I still get very nervous before I talk, but I just think it's fun, and I think it's
Yeah.
engaging. So
Well, you appear to be very organized too. You know what I mean? It seems like you've got a real pathway, at least in your head,
yeah,
or I don't know if you write it down or not, but that's a really important piece too. And in public speaking, if you know what you're talking about, you don't have to pretend.
exactly.
Um, the environmental communication. Well, first of all, I want to say that this gal that we talked to last week uh, nudged me to write an article that I've had in the back of my head for probably several years, and it's leadership as improv,
Yeah,
which is basically, being on your feet. And you have to do it with staff, and it's not like you don't know what you're doing, but you have to meet the person and the situation in the moment and then lead. So and your environmental communication, you could do anything in environmental communications. You could be a marketer, you could be a journal, anything. and use your skills if that is what excites you.
Yeah,
So
that's the best part of
it's a wonderful thing that you do.
Well, one of the beauties,
Yeah,
Bailey, is that you are young. You've got your whole life ahead of you, so you can do all of this back and forth of figuring out where your best fit is, and that's pretty exciting. Some of us don't get that figured out until we're in our mid 40s, or I mean, and you can always learn a new chapter, but you're ahead of the game.
the hope.
yeah.
I hope that some of this will help me.
And you're yeah, you're excited to learn new things too. I mean, just the fact you took that class, you didn't know what it was, and you leaned into it and ended up. I have a hunch that there's probably very few classes that you don't like. You just kind of jump in and
I do. I
yeah,
actually really like school.
yeah,
It's like my favorite part of like going to college is just actually like the classes. And
Yeah.
I've, I mean,
yeah,
the best part about the College of Charleston that I just have really loved is that every class is so one on one. It's about like a 20 person class, which I just think for college classes is really
Right.
amazing. And
Right.
every class I've taken in communications has been focused on a different area of communications. From, my first class was a relationships one. That was actually probably one of my favorite classes as well, where we looked
I
at
can,
different how you interact with people.
yeah, I can just see how that would fit with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that class. And it was even like we talked about like relationships with friends, with loved ones, with family. And it was just that class was really engaging. And I felt like I learned so much from it. And that a lot of that stuff I remember learning in leadership and those things. And then I guess I've done like numbers communication. Like it was like I didn't even it was like I didn't really like that one as much, but it was like, ratios and
Oh,
like it
yeah.
was like
Mhm.
kind of like the math side of communication.
statistics.
Right.
Yeah, like it was I forget what it was called, but yeah, it was kind of more numbers focused and doing calculations. And then we've done like public speaking and environmental and news articles.
Yeah,
So like you really get the whole
yeah,
Yeah.
board.
Get
And
going on it.
it really
Yeah.
helps
that's awesome.
you kind of focus on what pockets you like and what pockets you might want to go into in the future. And yeah,
Right. And you've got a couple years left to explore more possibilities.
exactly.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put a word out, and you've touched on it, but I want you to focus on it a little. And I like to call it community building, building
Yeah,
community. Talk to me about the communities you've built.
definitely. I think probably something I'm the most proud of is honestly our staff here at the LBC, just because when I joined, I felt like kind of very out of it and like not, it was just, a lot of older, kids range from like 16 to 20 here. So I was like, felt really young. And I don't know, I didn't feel like at the time I still loved the leadership, but it was just not as like inclusive. And I think last year I've had so many, when I was the assistant manager last year, I was kind of in charge of like team bonding and staff bonding. And that was something I really took seriously and I really wanted it to happen. And this year I've already had, the season hasn't even started and I've had so many people reach out, be like, "Are we doing staff bonding again? Like that was so fun. Like I love that." And all I would say, like everybody on staff is one of my closest friends and there's 40 of them. So I just,
Wow.
it's so fun. And and even like, it's not even my staff. It's like the sailing, there's a whole nother department, the sailing staff. They've come to me and be like, "Are you doing those staff bondings again? I'd love to be a part of it this year." And I was like, "Of course." Like, and I think
Yeah,
that community, like, and that's something down here that we've built so strong. And I really want, like, we just had our new staff orientation yesterday and there's 6 new guards. And I wanted them to, I was like, like we're always here for you and all of these people are here for you. And I just making sure people know that they have a space and they feel belonged to a community. I think that's also really important. And I think it's really
it
important to
is.
also do staff bonding and, have opportunities outside of work that you're going to spend. And like, we did a bonfire one night and we all just sat around and roasted marshmallows and made s'mores. And it was just so like, it's wholesome. And it's like, maybe after the beach club closes, we'll stay after and we'll go jump in the lake in the night. And it's like, it's just, those are like the little things that like just, they go a
Yeah.
long way. And I think people on staff really appreciate it
Right.
when they feel closer with their coworkers.
That's
And
right.
I love
also
it.
that like,
Yeah.
I'm not above them in any way. I'm just overseeing everything, and I'm still their friend, and I'm
Mhm.
still here for them, and like
Yeah.
listening to them. And yeah, I just think building that community
Mhm.
where everyone feels like equals and feels like they have a place to belong is that's the most important part.
Mhm. Sandy's really good at that component too. She's real good at bringing people together and doing events. One of her
I like having
specialties.
fun.
Um,
Why
yeah.
no? Why not have fun?
First, 1 second.
Well, I think part of it, Bailey, is that I remember as a kid reading something about always having the inner child in you, and I think that that's something that I really try, I intentionally try to do, is I want to see it through kids' eyes and be able to have the wonder of the world around me and being able to enjoy the fun and just be silly. Because I think that that brings us through tough times and helps us have joy in the good times, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard somebody last night mention, and I know this intrinsically, but I'd never heard it said. But this guy said that there is no addiction or mental health issues when people have bonded groups. You know what I mean? Because they have somebody to lean on, they have somebody to talk to. And so the mental health issues happen only when people are isolated. And so if you
Yeah.
can create that atmosphere where people can come together and they don't have to be alike, but just to share that community together, it's health inspiring, is what humans desire and need. So
I
that's
think
powerful.
it's even better sometimes when people aren't alike, because then you learn
Mhm.
from other people. And some of my closest friendships with people are people that are nothing like me, because i
Yeah,
I learn from them, and I grow, and I I add little tidbits from different people. And I think sometimes it's better to have a little bit more diversity and like a little
yeah,
bit different
yeah,
personalities, and how people think and how people act and how they
mhm,
dress and how all of those things. Like, I don't yeah, I
yeah,
think I love when it's a little different. And
yeah. It's a colorful mosaic of all different things, and you get to draw a big circle, and everybody can come inside. That's fabulous.
Right.
So, have
Right.
you got any advice for people that are young leaders or old leaders? Would there be a piece of leadership sage advice you might have for us out here?
yeah, I don't know, I guess I would just say, like, kind of what we've touched on is just, don't be afraid to, you know get up there and take up a little bit of space. And um, I would also say, like, don't be afraid to like ask for help, and ask for
Mhm.
guidance of people older than you. Those are the people that are going to help you get there and help
Mm-hmm.
you kind of grow as a leader as well.
Right.
I'd say that's probably how I got here, is just talking to people and learning from people. And I think
Yeah.
um, if you're maybe not like me and you aren't like super out there, I'd say, like, I guess it just I would say it just, you have to talk to people, and like kind of
Mhm.
make it known that like that's where you want to go. You want to become a leader. And even if you're like, I'm not sure how to get there, I think making sure
Mhm.
people know that's I think it's hard because I not everybody looks for people that are like wanting to become leaders who might not initially
Yeah.
see that. And so maybe it is harder
Mhm.
for some people to become a leader if they're not fully out there. And so I'd say in that case, yeah, I would say you have
Sure.
to, you know, get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And
Yeah. Mhm. That's what learning's all about, is getting out of your comfort
yeah,
zone. And I liked
exactly.
what Sandy said about digging for buried treasure. That really is true. Um,
Yeah.
Introverts, or people that don't always like to talk to people, really do have great qualities, but they just have to come out a little differently, And then there's other introverts that they're going to attract and that be attracted to, because you don't have to just be a talker. I know lots of really powerful leaders that just give themselves the quiet space they need, and then they go out and lead. So yeah, you're right. It's very individual.
I guess I would say too, like for, leaders now, of people that are looking for the next leaders, I'd say also maybe don't look for those people that are, I mean, obviously still you still want those kinds of people, but also look for those introverts as well, because I think they have really amazing qualities that can get overlooked sometimes. And I think, I mean, I'm definitely an extrovert, so obviously I still want, like, I think the people still want
Yeah.
those opportunities, but I think the introverts also have just as many amazing qualities that you
Mhm.
can learn from. And I think honestly, maybe it's more the opposite of like leaderships, like leaders now, like make sure like you don't just see the people
Yeah.
who are leaders now, but maybe the people that are a little
Yes.
bit behind the curtain.
I
Mhm.
like the
Good.
analogy, Bailey, of the fact that our bodies, we are created to have hands and arms and legs and, the trunk of our body and our head. And that's the same thing as far as the makeup of society, is that not everybody's going to be a head. If everybody was a head, that would be a problem. If everybody was a hand, that would be a problem. If everybody, if you had something that you were not able to use effectively, there'd be something missing. And I think exactly what you're saying is that everybody has value and can bring something to the plate. Part of it is that they need to know that, but it's not going to look the same. I may be a hand, you may be a toe, or whatever, but it takes all these different factions to be able to make up a whole person or a whole society, right?
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great way to explain what I was first trying to say in like my old jumble mess.
You're doing
You
great.
did
You're
great.
doing great.
Well, and I hear too, and this helps, is that you're talking about your staff, and you know each and every one of them. You've taken the time to get to know them, and therefore you can notice their traits and advocate for them. And yeah, that's very powerful. So, anything else that you want to bring up about leadership, because we're going to get ready to close, but anything dangling for you?
I'm not sure. I don't. I think I've probably touched a lot of like my
You
experiences
did a
and
great
my
job.
feelings. Yeah.
You did. You did. So, our final question is, what is one takeaway from our conversation today? What's one thing you're taking away?
I guess it kind of just resurfaced a lot of like my feelings about like leadership, and sometimes like I know we're doing a lot of leadership here, but just how important it is to recognize my own staff and just really remember that and give everybody space. And I think that's something I'm really gonna continue to like focus on and work on, because I'm not perfect always. And I think just also going into this next summer, or like this summer, I'm a little bit nervous to still be like the general manager to a lot of like my peers and people I've grown up with my whole life. And so just still keeping that, you know, that leadership and community and respect and all those things that are so important. I
Yeah,
think I want to make sure I take honestly everything we talked about today in this call, just take that throughout the summer and make sure that that's how I'm acting as a leader, and that's how I'm trying to make sure my staff, each and every one of them,
sure.
even if they're not on leadership, I want them all to be acting as leaders. And I think they
Yeah,
all have the capabilities to do so. So,
right.
yeah.
Well, one of the things that
What
we keep talking about is that we have to start out being leaders of ourselves, Bailey. So again, everyone is a leader, whether it's just even their own world. So
mhm.
yeah, making people aware that they
Yeah,
are leaders, no matter what
right.
that looks like.
They're yeah, they're a leader because they got up and got to the place they were supposed to be today. That's self
Exactly.
leadership, and then you can go out from there to however big the realm is. So, Sandy, takeaway for you.
I love Bailey's spirit, that she is willing to notice others and see what is needed and stepping forth, because that's where it all begins. That's where it begins is, again, like you said, getting out of bed, starting your day, but also being aware of the need around us, because I think it's easy to become egocentric and protective of our own hearts and our own selves, and then we can't see effectively around us. And I think Bailey has that, and I think that's amazing.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I'm taking away, I love the way that you notice with your emotions, you're connecting. You know what I mean? I love that. That's very, very powerful. And your staff and the people you know are blessed by that, you know. So that's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank
Well,
you.
Bailey, it's been great having you
Yeah,
on
so
today.
Fun.
Please come back,
thanks for having me.
and you are welcome. And I'm going to push end recording, and then we want you to hang on just for a minute when we
Okay.
shut down. Okay. So goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the
Thank you,
bridge, and have a
everyone.
wonderful
Thank
day.
you.